everybody, here we are again for another rambling reaction review. One day I'll get that title right, and in this video we shall discuss RWBY Volume 3, Chapter 3. It's Brawl in the Family. We pick up from last episode with Winter's arrival causing Weiss to be so overjoyed that while she's talking to her sister, she actually loses her usual refined composure and kind of regresses into the little sister archetype, or afflicted by a psychological effect I like to call revertigo. Not a real thing. During this conversation, we are quick to learn Winter is all business, with a purely militaristic attitude and a disdain for bureaucracy.
I'm more than familiar with how this kingdom handles its bureaucracy.
Which I think is an interesting tidbit of foreshadowing information, but we'll get back to that. Also, she is a complete bitch to her younger sister.
Silence, you boob!
Jesus, she even hit her! God, she kind of reminds me of Francesca von Karma. All you need to do is just give her a whip. As I said, Winter might be a bit physical, but it does seem she does care about Weiss, even wondering if she has friends, thanking RWBY for being one of them.
I wish to thank you for taking an interest in my sister.
Oh, yes, of course. The honor is in my court.
Oh God, RWBY trying to act sophisticated is all so very adorkable.
At a juncture, yeah.
So then the Snee sisters are off to inspect Weiss's dorm. But first, let's pick apart that scene a little, shall we? First of all, the background shots. They are beautiful. What makes them so good? In my opinion, two things. One, the layering, or technical term, composition of the shots. You have things going on in the near, far, and distant backgrounds. At least 3 layers of background art at all times. In this shot, you got about 3 layers with the ship on the landing pad, the hills in the distance, and even the sky can be included. But you've got other shots like this, 4, maybe 5 layers to the background. You have like the arches, slightly out of focus town towers, the city more so kind of blurred in the background, and even a slight outline of beacon in the back. Maybe a happy little bush in the background. That was a mistake, but we don't have accidents, just happy little mistakes. All of it just adds beautiful depth to the scene. Number 2, background characters that actually look like they might be CG and not the cheaper 2D cutouts that they've usually used. There are people living their lives in the background while this conversation is going on. They got places to go, people to see. Here you got people boarding this ferry ship. Some of it might look 2D with no motion, but there is still some motion going on. But if you look super closely, and yes, I'm nitpicking again, I'm sorry, I can't help it. But if you look very closely, you can see in the background, this shot, the animation accidentally stops a half second earlier than it should, freezing before the shot change. Not really a big complaint. You wouldn't even notice it if you weren't looking for it like I was while writing this. But all in all, the backgrounds are great, and it breathes so much extra life into the scene. On a character note, check out all the robot guards Winter has. Not a single real person arrived with her. Winter's strict sensibilities and impatience for other people probably leads her to prefer robots who will do exactly as she says over people that might question her. Back to the story. Winter and Weiss are on their way to Beacon when they get sidetracked by Drunkle Qrow. Oh, and Vic is playing the drunkle part so well.
Shh, not you.
You know, it makes perfect sense that Rooster Teeth writers would know how to write a funny drunk. Seriously, have you watched their podcasts?
Yes! Yes! I love Plan B!
It's clear here that Qrow and Winter already know each other and already dislike each other. It's pretty obvious. It could be something from their past, but I think it's most likely that they are just simply polar opposites. Qrow just does whatever he wants when he wants, and Winter has to follow a strict rule of law. The scene goes on with them taunting each other, but aside from that, this shot here is the most interesting for me. Because I look at it and wonder, is that a crow? Is that a raven? Let's get technical. Crows are smaller than ravens, with an average wingspan of 36 inches. With the average raven's wingspan reaching about 46 inches. So, on the size part, it could be a raven. Also, ravens make a deeper calling sound than crows, which this one does at first before it flies away. But once it is flying away, it's a bit higher pitch. Now, I know you're asking, but Swarly, why do you care whether it's a crow or a raven? Well, mainly because there is a character tied into Qrow's past and the other older huntsman's that still hasn't made an appearance this volume. Raven Rowan. I probably butchered that name, but hey, I do that. So this shot could represent one of two things. If it's a crow, it's just simply an allusion to Qrow, his namesake. If it's Raven, it could mean so many other things. It could mean that maybe she's watching right now, or maybe she's even involved with the events that are unfolding. Time to take off the tinfoil hat. On to the fight! And that's a pretty damn good one, getting up to some Dragon Ball Z proportions as the characters speed in and out of sight for a few seconds. A few quick notes. Qrow gets a good smack in the face and then has this glint in his eye before destroying part of the sidewalk. Perhaps he might have a semblance similar to Yang. As the fight progresses, we see that Qrow's Buster Blade also contains a shotgun variant. It's not really a Buster Blade, but that's what I'm calling it. And also, Winter has some tricks up her sleeves too. Her sword has a hidden S-Talk embedded in it. For those of you that haven't seen one before, it is a very light, thin sword with no edges, just the pointed tip. Most notably used recently in Sword Art Online by one of its main villains. Also, along with the same glyph semblance as Weiss, Winter can use those glyphs to summon familiars to attack her opponent. Though they are weak and pretty much only serve as a distraction, they're no match for Qrow. Talking about Qrow, he seems to have one more weapon variant to show us, and reveal denied. Why didn't he just show it? First they do it with Velvet last season, and now Qrow here. What's in the sword? What's in the sword? Well, come on. Obviously it's gonna be a scythe. It's gotta be a scythe. I just want to see how cool it looks. All in all, a good fight, but I'm pretty sure Qrow was just toying with Winter. For her to lose her cool the way she did, becoming so unladylike while fighting, that just shows that she was losing control and not holding back at the same time. A draw at worst, Qrow is the winner at best. Maybe if he was sober. Maybe that's his semblance. The drunker he gets, the stronger he is when he's intoxicated. He is a drunken master. Or not. Ironwood shows up just in time, and it seems he is the only person Winter respects enough to stop on a dime. And oh my god, it's finally penny time! Ozpin and Glinda show up for their first appearance this volume as well, with a little bit of good cop, bad cop vibe going on. Glinda cleaning up the destructive mess as usual. Before I move on, one last note on this scene. As an uncle myself, I know all about hyperactive nieces. And this sort of clinging does happen on the regular. Location change to Ozpin's office. And well, you've heard my opinions on this set piece. His office is still so visually pleasing, from the gears constantly turning in the background to his awesome desk, which in this episode is revealed to double as a computer interface. Cool hologram used for the most actually informative and fascinating conversation thus far this season. They explain here where Qrow has been, kind of, and that Ironwood is only a recent member to Ozpin's inner circle that Winter is not privy to.
But sir...
Winter, leave.
But in reality, this conversation raises more questions than it answers. Who really is the enemy? What is a guardian? And who is Autumn, and what is she afflicted with? Oh god, here we go again. Strictly, theoretically speaking, my theory for all of this is that Cinder is not the main enemy, but an agent for somebody who I think, based on this conversation here, can either control or make her own Grim. Next, a Guardian is a chosen person that would be in charge of everyone else's safety, but they're also created or imbued with the ability to do that. So, if the person can make Grim to be something that's created to feed off of fear of people, a Guardian can be created or imbued with power to, well, be powered by hope or willpower. And lastly, Autumn. Well, come on. It's gotta be Summer's older sister, really, because, like, Summer, Winter, Autumn. Whoa. It just dawned on me. Autumn with RWBY at the grave. All the symbolism I was talking about and the foreshadowing and Oh, and not to mention also the best line of the episode happens right here.
He was drunk. He's always drunk.
As always, Ozpin drops some sage advice whenever he's featured, this time calming Ironwood from his little rant.
If this is the size of our defenses, what is it we're expecting to fight?
Whoa, did you see that? Rewind, when he picks up the phone, do you see that? I knew it, I freaking knew it! Cinder's virus has made it into Ozpin's computers, and now it's in Ironwood's computer systems too. From his phone, it'll infect his network. Ironwood's network is probably connected to the robots in which they get updates from. The robots get Cinder's virus too. Heck, Penny could probably hook into that system too, and you know what that could lead to?
There are no strings on me.
This continues into the next scene. We find out that Cinder and her group are aware and somewhat fear Qrow. He is infamous in their circles, but they have never actually met face to face. Also, going back to the virus thing, Cinder talks that she has a new access point. So that means the virus can easily spread from system to system, supporting my earlier theory, and it shows us how she's rigging the matches. And oh boy, she rigged them good! We get to see Emerald and Mercury versus Coco and Yatsuhashi. I can't wait for that fight. Lastly, tiny thing, when Cinder mentions their clever little friend, does she mean the computer virus or the person that wrote the computer virus? Don't get me wrong, Cinder is clever and all, but I don't take her for the computer programming type. Nope. But maybe somebody with a fancy written W in their name might be? To find that out, we will have to wait until next episode. God damn, that was one good amazing fight they had there. Some great plot advancement and little hints sprinkled all over about what could happen next, leaving us with almost more questions than answers, but it was so great, so tantalizing. Well, worth the extra week wait. And that's it for this rambling reaction review. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and as always, this is always just my opinion. I'm not an expert, but if you know something that I don't, or just feel like debating, feel free to leave a comment below. And until next time, good night, everybody!